4, 3, 2, 1, level up, level up, level up, level up, level up.
Hey guys, welcome to Level Up with Lydia. I am your host, Lydia Navo, and I am one of the owners of Level Up Consulting with Derek Palmer. And today on Level Up with Lydia, we have a very special guest. We have Kurt, hang on, Podeszwa. Welcome, Kurt. So excited to be talking about your organization. I hear you guys do amazing things, and I can't wait to learn more.
Well, I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. So why don't you go ahead and start off and just tell us what exactly is Camp Aranzazu and how to get started? How'd you get involved with it?
Yeah. Camp Aranzazu is a camp for children and adults with disabilities and medical conditions. And so it really kind of covers the whole range of campers who may not be able to have a traditional camp experience. If there are barriers to camping and recreation, that's who we serve. That's our mission. And we are actually celebrating our 20th anniversary this year.
Saw that. That's amazing.
Yeah. So we're really excited. We've got lots of things going on this year for the 20th anniversary, including bringing back some folks that have worked with us over the last 20 years and celebrating them, really spending the whole year celebrating. But I think what really sets Camp Aranzazu apart is that you don't register individual campers with us. So if your child wants to go to camp and you're like, oh, Camp Aranzazu is a place because my child, has cancer. And so I want to go to a camp that serves children with cancer or with autism or with Down or whatever that is. Instead, we contract with other organizations. So we partner with other nonprofits. And so the nonprofit is really the expert about the camper and whatever their condition is. And we are the experts in camping and recreation and the outdoors in our facility. And so that partnership together is how we run camp. And that's why we're able to serve campers with Down syndrome or campers with autism, but also adults with veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder, or we have a group, the Amputee Coalition, that comes and it's campers with limb loss. And so we're able to serve that broad population because we partner with other organizations. And so they provide the campers and the in-cabin counselors and whatever medical or specialty staff is needed. We provide this accessible facility with activities that are traditional camp activities and the staff to run them and to train all of the different activities. And so that's the process. And then the other part that we do is we underwrite the cost. And so the organization will pay us about a third of what it costs us to have them here.
Oh, wow.
And we'll fundraise for the other 2/3. And
That's
so
amazing.
it really is a partnership across the board.
That's amazing. I guess I never thought about the partnering with other organizations, because how would you be able to really cater specifically to each need that the campers come with?
Yeah. So if you got a camp that's coming in and the campers have cancer, you need oncologists and oncology nurses. If it's a camp for kidney disease, then you need a different kind of medical staff. For heart disease, a different kind of medical staff. And so it would be difficult for us to manage all of that.
Specialize in it all.
Exactly.
And so are the camps separated by different
different ability levels. Yes. Yeah, they are. And so and really that depends on the partner. So Driscoll Children's Hospitals down in Corpus is one of our largest partners, and because they're very close to us. And so they have 5 different camps, now 6 actually, different camps that come to us from Driscoll with a lot of different types of conditions. So each of those are kind of individual camps and they're focused, but 2 of their camps are camps for kids with cancer. One is for teens, and it's called Teens Living with Cancer. And one is Little Golden Warriors, and it's the younger kids with cancer. And so that's the same department, but they've split them by age, and they come in 2 different programs. We do work with an organization here in Houston called Be an Angel. They don't actually bring campers from Houston. They bring campers from San Antonio and from the Valley and Corpus Christi. And that is a broad family camp with families who have a child with a disability. And so that's less prescriptive and more open.
That's awesome. And so how did the camps actually run?
So it really depends on what time of year. So we're a year-round facility. That's one of the misnomers is people think, oh, camp.
Summer.
Right. It's just summertime. We operate all year long. And so during the non-summer months, they might come in on a Friday and leave on a Sunday, or if it's a school group or if it's spring break, they might come in on a Wednesday, Thursday, or Wednesday through Friday, sometimes long weekends. During the summer months, it's typically Monday through Friday. That's a typical summer camp. And what happens is that whoever the organization deems as their leadership for that program we'll connect with one of our program people and we say, okay, here are the activities. We start with goals. What is it that you want to achieve when you're coming to camp? And one of the people in the industry that I know really well that I love this quote, and that's that, people think about camp as fun. And fun is not the mission of camp, but fun is what happens when we achieve our mission. And
Sure.
so goals focused first, like, are we working on independence? Are we working on belonging and self-efficacy? What is it? What are the things that we're working on
Sure.
with the campers that we want them to achieve while they're there? And so then we start there and then we build the program from that. And it happens from both sides. We'll build the program on paper. We send it to the partner. They say, yeah, we like this, or we want to do this. Maybe we want to bring in a specialist on epilepsy.
Sure.
And that's something they're going to bring in. They want to plug that in. And so we'll figure out the place to plug them into the schedule that makes the most sense.
It's awesome. And so that must be, super rewarding to be able to experience all this, but also very hard, I'm assuming. So
It
talk
is.
a little bit about that.
So it is rewarding. I have been working, I've been working in the nonprofit industry around recreation for 30 plus years. Special needs, probably 23, 25 years
Okay.
of that time. And so the rewarding part is that most of my adult life, I've gotten to do something that really makes a difference and means something. And not everybody gets to say that.
Yeah.
So I feel pretty blessed that I've been able to do that. But there's also a huge responsibility.
Mhm.
You have somebody's saying, I want to come to camp and here are my goals and this is what I want to achieve. And you're working on making sure that they achieve that, or at least making sure they have the opportunity to
Right.
achieve that. And so that's a lot of responsibility, and there's a lot of people involved. And there's obviously safety consideration. Whenever you're working with people, you need to make sure that you're taking safety into consideration. And so there's that responsibility piece that I think sometimes people forget. They think about summer camp, they're like, oh, that's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. And there's a lot behind the scenes that goes on. I don't know if have you ever been to camp? Okay.
Yeah.
So have you ever heard the term the magic of camp? How
Yeah.
magical it is to be at camp, right? And it's one of those things. I have a good friend in the industry who hates that term.
Okay.
I don't hate it because I love magic and I love magicians. And so, but I define it a little bit differently. When we talk about the magic of camp, whenever you go see a magician, you see them on stage and you're just like awed and you're wowed, right? But we all know that they didn't just get up on stage and do stuff for the first time.
Right.
There's a lot that happens behind the scenes. There's a lot of hard work that goes on to make sure that when they get up on stage, it seems like magic.
Yeah.
It's the same thing at camp. Behind the scenes, there's a lot of hard work that goes on. And the campers and our guests shouldn't see that hard
Yeah.
work. It should feel magical to them.
Yeah.
But that doesn't change the fact that there's a lot of hard work behind the
For
scenes.
sure. I've done enough, and this is not necessarily apple to apple at all, but like business conferences where
Yep.
it is you get to the end of it and you go, from my perspective, everything went haywire, but a client or an audience member might be like, oh no, it went seamless. And you're like, good, perfect. That's
Yeah.
all that matters.
As long as it seems like that on the outside.
Yeah, as long as
Exactly.
it matters.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally understand that. Do you have any stories that stick out that are like, man, this one camper or this one camp or experience happened that just really was transformational?
So one of the things that I did, so I've been the president and CEO of Camp Aranzazu for 4.5 years. I've been in the recreation industry for a long time. So when I came in, obviously I wanted to get to know the staff, get to know the team, and get to know our programs. So one of the first weekends after I started, it was actually Be an Angel that I had spoken about before. And I went just to hang out for the weekend and see what was going on. The campers are having a dance, a party, and they've got everything is kind of lined out with chairs, and there's kids dancing, and it's Tejana music, and they're having so much fun. And you've got the different kind of dads, the different experience. And one of the dads is that dad that everybody gravitates to, and he's taking these kids and he's dancing with them and having fun with his kids and with other people's kids. And I look over in the corner and there's this couple, and the dad has been the primary caregiver of their young son. And their son is actually out dancing with the other dad. And there was the couple sitting off to the side. And this dad was shyer. He was quieter. But I'd been seeing him do the care for the son as they moved around. And I just saw him, and he just turned to his wife and he kind of stood up and he put his hand out, and she stood up, and over on the corner, the two of them danced.
Aww.
Just the two of them, because somebody else was, their kids were having fun. Camp gave them the opportunity to connect with each other. And that's something that
Amazing.
people forget about. If you've got a child with a disability, or if you've got a child with a chronic illness, there's a lot that goes into focusing on that child. And so other relationships sometimes suffer. And so the fact that we can have that family camp and just to see those two adults dance with each other off to the side of the corner with nobody watching except for me,
Yeah.
that really hit me right away.
Yeah, that's amazing. That is truly, yeah, that's amazing. I love being able to experience that. What is ways that people can get involved to help you guys?
Yeah. So, if your listeners are connected to nonprofits or they know nonprofits, they're like, hey, this group of people that I know from this nonprofit, they should have a camping experience. Connect them to me. It's the easiest conversation I have because, like I told you, when I sit down and talk about it, if they say, yes, we want to come to camp, yes, there's a fee that they have to, but we have to go out and raise more money every time we add it. So it's not a sales job. It's the easiest piece. We talk about it and see whether we match. And so that's one way, connect us to other nonprofits. If you know of a child that you think would benefit from an experience, you can reach out to us and we'll find out if we have a partner group that they connect with. And so then we'll try to connect them with one of our partner groups. I believe in the power of camp for all kids. And so if I can find the place for them, I will find the place for them. Obviously, we're always raising money for that other 2/3 cost. And one of the things that we have going on this year for our 20th anniversary is 20 for 20, which is a donors to sign up to give a minimum of $20 a month. And so they sign up on our reoccurring. You can do it on our website. You just hit monthly and you do the $20. And there's something to be said about that reoccurring donation. Like we have a lot of very large donors, but we also have donors who give consistently over the years. And, what's a couple of trips to Starbucks can really make a difference for a child. And so that's been a great campaign that we've been doing this year. And that's been a lot of fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I will definitely go do that after this. And I'm assuming just the website is a place that people can go to do all of those things.
All of those things. Yep. And on the website, there's a big button. We're a nonprofit. There's a big button that says donate. And when you click on that, it'll have all the things. I think it goes to the one time is the first, and so right next to it is the monthly. If you want to do the monthly, and then you put your information in there.
And we'll definitely put that on all the websites and stuff too.
Thank you.
For sure. Yeah. For sure. Okay. And so, that actually brings up a really good point of, you're raising money because you are a business.
We are.
And people forget that. We've had one other nonprofit on the podcast, and the same thing is people forget that nonprofits are actually businesses. And so talk to us from a business side of things of how has it been being business owner of this?
Well, I think it's one of the misnomers like you talked about. People don't think of nonprofits as businesses. And sometimes nonprofit leadership executives also forget that it's a business, right? And so remembering that although we have a mission, we have to focus on strong business principles is important for, I think, for all executives. And so there are things that as a nonprofit, we need to make sure that we're focusing on. And obviously mission, vision, values, we have to be following those things. But there are lots of for-profit businesses that have mission, vision, values. They should be focusing on those as well. And so I often, when I talk to people, I say business is business. Good business is good business. And for-profit businesses make mistakes, so do nonprofit. Sure. And so I think one of the biggest mistakes that nonprofit businesses make is thinking of themselves in terms of a poverty mentality. Like we're raising this money, and so we can only spend it on these things. And the problem with that is that capital, going back into the business, going into the team, into the hiring of people, into the creating of resources, all of those things tie into your mission. And if you forget that, then you put yourself at a level where you're not going to grow. Yeah. And so you have to reinvest in the business.
Yeah, definitely. What is the mission, vision of Camp Aranzazu?
Well, Camp Aranzazu cultivates belonging. And so that's the biggest part of our mission statement is about the fact that we cultivate belonging. And so one of the things that means is that when our campers come to us, we don't try to change them. We accept them for who they are when they come. I do believe that camp is a transformative experience, but transformation is not one of our goals because we want the campers to know when they come to us that they are who they're supposed to be. And so we cultivate belonging. We allow the opportunity for campers to feel like they belong. Some of these campers don't belong in other circles. They might be the only child with this syndrome in their school, or it might be that they're kind of an outcast. Sure. And when they come to camp, they're not. They are the reason we exist. And they belong. And then our vision part of that is that our vision is a world built for belonging. And so the idea is that we're cultivating belonging at camp, and then we want to spread that. We want these same campers to belong everywhere. And we do that in a lot of ways, but one of the ways that we do that is through our hiring of seasonal staff. We get college-age students who come and work for us for the summer and then work on weekends. And they learn about what it means to accept people and what belonging looks like. And then wherever they go out, whatever they do after that, they take that with them. And so that's part of how we're trying to create a world built for belonging.
That's huge. And that's not something I guess I had thought of until you just said it, of being able to teach people how to interact and how to, not treat people differently based on belonging. And it sounds so simple, but it is something that we have to be taught.
Yeah.
Right. So
Well, and we look at people like we all have, whether we know somebody or not, we all have an understanding of what what autism is,
Sure.
or what Down syndrome is, or what it's like to live with cancer. And we may or may not have a personal experience with that, but we know something about it. And one of the things that we forget is generalizations are good to understand an overall thing. But if you've met a 14-year-old with autism, then you have met one 14-year-old with autism. And that's what people forget, is that there's not two that are the same.
Yeah.
Just like there are any two kind of people.
Yeah, I was
We're
about to
all
say, any
different.
14-year-old boy
Right.
is not the same as any other 14-year-old boy.
Exactly. And there
so
are
true.
characteristics that we can generalize,
Yeah.
but we can't do that when we interact with an
That's
individual.
so true. I love that. I absolutely love that. And so back to kind of the business side, what is you've been doing this one specifically for 4.5 years. What's one of the biggest challenges or things you've had to overcome as a business owner?
I think one of the biggest challenges as a business owner is people management, is human resources. And I don't mean from the legal standpoint, although that's an aspect of it, but people are the most important resource that we have, both from a customer standpoint, but also from an employee standpoint. And I think that's one of the things that sometimes gets overlooked when we talk about investment in an organization. The investment that we put into our people really does pay dividends. For a nonprofit, the investment we put into our people really helps us focus on our clients. And one of the things in my industry that is said often is campers come first. And I just did a session at a national conference that was titled "Campers Come First and Other Things We Need to Stop Saying."
Yeah.
Because we really have to focus on the team, on the staff.
Yeah.
And when we do, then the camper experience is the experience that we want them to have.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest challenges. I also think specific to nonprofit business, we understaff and overwork. And so the idea is that because it's a nonprofit, we don't have the money to spend. And so instead of working, as a business leader, you're working 60, 70 hours a week. That's a norm, right? But instead of doing that, we're working 100-hour weeks, and we're expecting staff to work 100-hour weeks because we're going to keep the expenses down.
Yeah.
Well, you burn staff out. And if you want to talk about the expense of hiring and training and onboarding a new staff person is way higher.
Yeah.
And so making sure that we take care of the team that we have, and that's both in supporting them as who they are, but also making sure that we haven't.
Yeah. And also, I think another part is nonprofits, and correct me if I'm wrong, rely a lot on volunteers, which I think is fantastic. And yes, they do help, but volunteers aren't as invested as a team member. So roles and responsibilities may not be carried out as well as a team member that you're invested in.
Exactly. And we have to, sometimes nonprofits will also rely on donations of services, which is great. And it depends on what you're looking for, because, there's the old adage that you get what you pay for. Mm-hmm. And that is often true, right? So if you've got people who want to donate services, that's great, as long as you're getting it in the time frame that you need it. And so some services are great to be donated. Some, it's probably better to go out and purchase it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think all of this as a for-profit business owner, if you're listening to this, all of these go right back to it, right? Campers come first. That being the old adage is, again, train your team and your business to take care of your clients, right? campers means clients. The same with getting donations, right? If you're exchanging services for free, it's probably not going to be as great as if you're paying for it and
Right.
investing in it. So all of these go right back to the for-profit business.
You think about the old adage that the customer is always right.
Yeah.
Right. That's not true.
Yeah.
We all know that that's not true. Our job is to help them understand what is right for them,
Sure.
even if they think it's something else. And we do that in a way that is non-confrontational, right? But when we're interacting with our customers, we often know better than they do. And so how do we communicate that to them so that they're getting the best experience that they can? And I know I've listened to your podcast. You've had people on here who work with customers. Those people are the experts. The customers are not.
Right.
The challenge is, how do we make sure that they understand that?
Yeah. We were actually just talking about that on a podcast we were recording earlier of why do people come ask us for advice as professionals, but then not take the advice, right? So it's interesting. But let's talk about the 20 years for a little bit.
Yeah.
So lots going on this year, you said. So tell us about some of it.
So we had a big partner retreat. So we have about 50 different partners that bring campers to us. And so earlier in the year, we had a partner retreat where we celebrated them. They got to come to camp. They got to do the activities that they normally don't get to do because they're there with the campers, right?
Sure,
and so we got to celebrate them. That was a lot of fun. We also have a brand new video, 20th anniversary video that talks about our history and kind of where we started and what the facility looked like, and then where we've come to now with a little bit of forecasting of what's going to be next, or what are we looking at for the next 20 years.
You want to give us any of that insight?
Part of what we're looking at is how are we supporting the needs of not just the campers that we have now, but the campers that we're going to have. Special needs camping started with polio, right? That's how my whole part of this industry started. Polio is not a disability that we serve, right?
Sure.
We don't need to. And so when people were camping, especially at the beginning with polio, nobody thought about autism or Down syndrome right? And so things have progressed over the years. We also, we don't use the term special needs as much anymore because we also serve veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder, or veterans who just want to communicate with other veterans because of the experience that they've had. Sure. Those are also part of our mission. And so what's going to be next? And so thinking about what's going to be next and how do we make sure our facility is ready for whatever is next? And so we're finishing out this year. The timing worked out perfectly in that this is the last year of a 3-year strategic plan.
Okay.
That we will finish. And then over the course of the next couple of years, some of the things from that strategic plan will be getting to be implemented. And that includes some buildings down the road. At some point, there's going to be a multi-purpose building.
Hey.
We're expanding our health center and creating some more staff housing. And so those are some things that we're looking at in the future.
Awesome. And I don't think we've talked about, where is this?
It's in Rockport.
Okay.
And that's a good point, is we serve kind of all of South Texas. So you and I are sitting here in Houston, but camp is in Rockport. We serve campers from Rockport, from San Antonio, from Corpus Christi, the Coastal Bend, and Victoria, the Golden Crescent area. And so kind of that whole area. And then I talked about the Amputee Coalition, which is actually our national organization. And they pull campers from all over the country.
That's awesome. Any big plans to go into other states or cities?
No. So we don't have a plan to grow the facility in the way of like duplicating. And part of that is, now that's where we are right now with this strategic plan, right? But part of that is that we really want to focus on making sure that we're doing what we do well.
Right.
And I will tell you that one of the decisions that I think a business makes too is what does growth look like and how are we controlling that growth? You grow too fast and the quality, right? The product, in our case, it's an experience, but that product gets diluted.
Yeah.
And so last year, we had our biggest year ever of serving over 2,300 campers for the year, which makes us a fairly small camp in the industry. Okay. But that was a large year for us. We like being small because we feel like it gives us the ability to interact with the campers and our partners in a different relationship. When we set our goals for this year, we actually set our goals under what we did last year.
Really?
Yeah. So even though we did 2,300 campers last year, that's how we served. We did not, we set our goals at more like 1,900 campers this year. Now, when the phone rings, we pick it up, and if we can serve people, we will. Right. But we also want to make sure that growth is in a controlled way so that we're not burning out staff, we're not burning out resources. Every time we grow, there's more fundraising that has to be done. Yeah. And so we want to make sure that that we do this in a very controlled manner. And that's about communicating with our donors. It's about communicating with our board. You know, as a business, communication is one of the keys. We communicate with different stakeholders, but a for-profit business still has to communicate with their stakeholders.
Yeah.
And so that communication is key, and how we message that as the experts in our industry, I think, is important.
Yeah. And you mentioned, obviously team being a really big thing that you invest in, and there's the camp counselors and all that kind of stuff. Like, if people wanted to be involved in that, if they want to be a camp counselor, if they want to be a part of the team, if they want to be a part of the organization, how do they get involved with that?
They can go through our website.
Okay.
As for us, we hire activity leaders. So those people who lead all those activities down on the coast. I said we're in Rockport. We're actually in Rockport, but we also have 28 acres on Copano Bay. That's part of there in Rockport. And so we have a sailing program.
Wow.
The campers get to sail, and we use the sailboats that the Paralympians use, so that they don't have to move from side to side. So a camper can just sit there and sail in the boat. And so there's birding out on the bay, there's fishing out on the bay, and then we have a lot of inland activities. So if they want to come spend the summer at Rockport and do something that's pretty amazing, they can look us up on our website. If they want to volunteer to be a counselor for a week, maybe they've got a week and there's a certain population that they want to work with, they can also either go to our website or they can call us up and say, hey, I want to volunteer. And we'll connect them with our partner groups who are looking for volunteers to be in-cabin counselors and those kinds of things. So that's less of a commitment. That's typically a volunteer role. Whereas, if you come work for us for the summer, it's a job.
Yeah.
So that's a paid position.
I think that's amazing. That's actually something that sounds really interesting that I'm like, man, I want to go do some research now. We talked about before, but Camp Aranzazu is an interesting name. So what does it mean?
Aranzazu it's a Basque term that means a spiritual place requiring a difficult path to reach. And I wish I could take credit for naming camp. I've only been there 4.5 years, but our founder named it because his whole idea was that this place would be a place that would be a spiritual place for our campers to come. And our campers are walking difficult paths. And so as they're walking difficult paths, we're that spiritual place that they can come to, that they can find belonging. And so it's a name that fits us. It's a name that's hard to pronounce.
It's not that hard. Right? I just have to look every time.
When you look at it, it looks hard to pronounce. When somebody says it, you're like, oh, Aranzazu, that's not that difficult to say. But then when you look at it, it's one of those, wait, how do I say that? I think on our website, we actually have a pronunciation key for people so that, but it's worth it to have that kind of difficult name because it means so much. And it's such a part of our identity.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's great. And so, okay, is there anything else that we haven't covered yet that you want to make sure people know about?
Well, I think, I talked about the nonprofit poverty mentality piece. And I think that one of the things that I think that all business owners should think about is that reinvestment piece. And that's financial, that's human capital, that's, what is it that we're the best at, and how do we make sure that that's what we're focused on?
Sure.
One of the things that happens in nonprofit that also happens in all business. So I at some point I stopped separating because really business is business.
Yeah.
Is that we want to do all things and be all things for all people. So we're a nonprofit, and so we have this program and we do it really well. And so we want to add this program, and we want to add this program, and we want to add this program. We try to be very careful about what that looks like for us in terms of adding programs, because we have a niche and there are things that we're good at, and we want to focus on the things that we're good at. So we're a beautiful facility. We are a beautiful facility, but we do not do weddings. Now, weddings could make camp a lot of extra income, right? But weddings are a different business. It's a different industry, right? And so making sure that we stick with who we are. Now, I know camps that have wedding planners, and they do that very well. And so it doesn't mean that you can't grow, but if you do it, you have to make sure that you're doing it the right way. You don't take a program person and say, we're going to make you an event planner or a wedding planner now, right? Just because you're good at planning this event doesn't mean you're going to be good at planning that event. And so I think making sure that business owners across the board, when we look at growth, make sure that we're being focused on controlled growth.
Yeah.
How is it going to affect us? And then when we're looking at what we're good at, if we're going to do something else, do we have the skill sets, or do we need to bring in people for the skill sets to do that?
And that's even not just specific to like what services I offer, but also your market, right? So some people go, I want to serve everybody. And it's like, well, you can't. Like you really can't. You have to decide what you want to specialize and be really good at that and just be great at it.
Yeah. Be great at the thing that you're great at.
Yeah.
And not try to do so many things. Yeah. And that ties into, what I said before about nonprofits. A nonprofit executive tries to wear lots of hats. And I think all business owners wear lots of hats, right? But also there are things that I'm good at and there are things that I'm not the expert at. And I need to remember that as the leader of the organization, I have people who are better at doing some of these things than I am. I was a camp director for years. And so I have that in the back of my head, that camp director. Amelia Smith is Camp Aranzazou's camp director, and she's way better at it than I am. I have been away from it, and she does Camp Aranzazu camp directing.
Yeah.
And so if we're talking about that, then she and I are going to talk about that. I have a development director, Kate Pouvier, that she runs development, and she's really good at it. And so my thing about being an executive, a nonprofit leader, is that those are the people, my leadership team, those are the people, they tell me what I should be doing. And that's what leadership really is.
Yeah.
And I think at one point in my life, I used to think that leadership was you have all the answers and you tell people what to do. And then I think you learn very quickly when that doesn't work.
Yeah.
The true leadership is surrounding yourself with people who know what to do and listening to them.
Yeah.
And then where can you support them? Where is it that they need the support? That's the leadership piece, the vision and the strategic planning for an organization. And again, that applies to all businesses.
Yeah.
That the executive really needs to be thinking about what's next. And we need to have a group of people that are thinking about what's now.
Yeah.
And so I think knowing our roles are important.
Yeah, I think that's super important. And that was actually a lesson I was taught pretty early on is the business owner needs to put their ego aside and hire better than themselves. 100%. That is what they need to do. I do want to actually take a little bit of a maybe towards more just the nonprofit. We've been talking a lot about the correlations of the two, but the fundraising aspect, because we do work with a lot of nonprofits as well in the consulting or coaching industry. And so let's talk about fundraising and how you do it for the camp. 'Cause it's got to be a lot for these camps that you're putting on.
It is a lot. And there's a team. One of the things that I talk about, I just talked about the delegation, but the other thing that I talk about is, the percentage of my job. I spend 75% of my job in fundraising and 75% in programming, 75% in operations. I'm a nonprofit person, not a math person. So you have to do that. But that's how we put all those things together, right? And so I spend a lot of time in fundraising. Fundraising is really, we call it development, and we call it development on purpose because development is really about relationships. And what we do in business is build relationships. And if you're good at building relationships, then you're good at fundraising, you're good at development. And it's about finding out, first off, who are you approaching? Who are you talking to? And what is important to them? So, there's one aspect of fundraising is this 20 for 20 that I talked to you about, right? There's also donors out there and foundations that are giving hundreds of thousands. And so what is it that's important to them? There's a reason that foundation exists. And so understanding what's important to them and then meeting them on their level and also not wasting their time.
Sure.
And so I think that's what we do. We spend a lot of time in stewardship and building relationships and making sure that we're telling our story. And when we tell our story, the people who are connecting to the story are going to jump on board, right? And they're gonna and they're gonna be a part of what we're doing. And I've listened to I just listened to the podcast that you did with
Jamila.
Yes, Jamila, thank you. And I just finished listening to that, and two nonprofits that are doing different things but have similar philosophies, right?
Yeah.
Like I could see her leadership skills in the conversation that you were having with her. And I think what happens is once we tell our story, then there are people that pull into that mission. And they're like, okay, I want to be a part of that. How can I be a part of that?
Yeah.
And that's when you talk about what the options are available and let people give it the level that's important to them. And whether that's their we talk about time, treasure, and talent, right? That's what we're looking for when we talk about development.
Yeah, and we talked about it in her episode too. Again, that goes right back to business, right? We're right back to for-profit business of people resonate with your why, not what you do.
Yeah, always.
So super important. What are some of the things though, besides just the donate button, besides people giving money? What are some of the other things you do? And you did say talent and time, but you do like some of the restaurants and stuff. So talk to
so we do. We have 3 events. And those events, one's in Houston, one's in San Antonio, one's in Corpus Christi. Events, when it comes to fundraising, events take a lot of time and energy. And so you have to really be focused on what you want to do. 3 events for a organization our size is a lot.
That was a lot, yeah.
But we have 3 because of those 3 areas. And so they're awareness builders for us. They're fundraisers, but they're also awareness builders. We get to go in there and tell our story. And so if anybody wants to get involved in an event, the one in Houston is a clay shoot, and the one in San Antonio is a clay shoot as well. And then we have a music event down in Corpus Christi that's more like a concert with a live auction. It's the closest thing that we would have to what some would call a gala. But I am dressed much nicer right now than I'm dressed at that event.
Okay.
So it's not a fancy gala. It's more of a music. It's called Zazu Music and More.
Okay.
And it's really, we always have a live band and dinner and a lot of fun. And really that's an opportunity for us to tell our story.
Yeah.
Some of the other things that we do, we have what are called friend raisers, where we'll get somebody who's connected to us that say, hey, I want to tell my friends about this, and we're going to have them to our house, and we're going to open up a couple bottles of wine, and why don't you come and talk to them? And there's not a check writing ask. Sometimes people donate because of that, but more often than not, they want to find out more about us. So that'll be the opportunity for us to set up a tour of camp, or for us to sit down and have a one-to-one with that person and talk about what we're doing. That's more of like the doorway, entryway thing. And so it gives us a chance to tell our story and raise awareness. We do a lot of touring during the summertime. Okay. We can tour any time of year. But during the summertime, on the weekdays, Monday, typically Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are the best days to come tour. And there are campers. And so you get to see camp in action. And so
can anybody tour?
Anybody can tour. They need to connect with us. We don't tour groups. We tour maximum, really 5 people at a time. And that's because we don't want our campers to be in a fishbowl.
Right. I was about to say that'd be
like this, that it's touring camp. And there may be times when we can't tour camp. There may be campers that from a privacy standpoint, but for the most part, that's what we do. We set up, and it's a great way to see us in action.
That's amazing.
That is all of that. Everything that I've just talked about is development. And when we're doing a tour, we don't get done with a tour and I say, okay, now will you donate? Right? Like that's not how fundraising is done. When people know what you're doing, they want to get involved in whatever way they can. Mm-hmm. And that's really what development is. That's how we do development.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I think we are coming to the end of this time. And so I do want to ask that final question before we get all the info again. But if there's one thing that either nonprofits, business, all the same, we've discovered, can start doing today, that a year from now, they'd look back and go, wow, that made a huge difference on my business. What would that one be?
So this is the one question, because I've listened to your podcast, that I was ready for. Yeah. And so, but also I'm a cheater.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you 2 things. I looked at it as I couldn't decide on one. So one is invest in people. Now, and that means if you're an organization, if you're a business and you're the sole person in the business, it doesn't mean that you can't invest in people. You still invest in people. It's in relationships. Who do you know that's doing the same thing that you're doing? Let's get together with them. Let's invest in people. Let's learn from others. We need to make sure that we know that we are not the end all be all in our industry. And if we ever think that we are, then it's time for us to be done, right? Like we have to be continuing to learn. And I'm
going to actually add on that, if that's okay, is that invest in people as a solopreneur is also investing in yourself, right? You are people.
You're learning, invest in people. And one of the things that, way back when Zig Ziglar, one of my favorite quotes of his is, you can have anything you want in life as long as you help enough other people get what they want. Working, connecting with people, sitting down and talking, we're part of a networking group, but the group itself is less important than the networking, right? Mm-hmm. The one-on-one with people, the talking, like that's getting to know people and finding out who has information that you can draw on when you need it. So the invest in people right here, right now, that's the first one. And a year from now, if you do more of that right now, a year from now, you're going to see dividends on that. Sure. The second thing is that I'm a goal-oriented person. And so I've always written goals, and then I do checkpoints. You can't just write annual goals and then check them once a year. You do checkpoints. But one of the things that I started last year is kind of doing I do it weekly. I know some people do it daily, but what happened this week? What was good? What didn't go so well? What did I learn? How can I do something different? And doing that kind of journaling or reflection, start that right now. And a year from now, you're going to have a page of notes that tell you what you need to do for your goals for next year, why you didn't achieve all of them, and what you needed to do to achieve them, or maybe you were maybe you didn't write down the right goals. So do that right now.
You actually write it down, like you keep them all?
I do.
all
I
you
keep
had to
them all,
download
and
it?
I now keep it in my. So I'm a tech. I like tech now, and so I keep it in my iPad. But yes,
Okay. Yeah, I think, and that's something that we've talked about before too, as well, is the gains part, right? That the good things, the things that went well, the
hmm
things that we did good, is being able to look back on those on hard times
yeah,
and going, man, like I had a shitty day or a shitty
right,
month or a shitty year, and be able to look back and say, now I still have 100 things that went well. And
yeah.
I think that's really important to have that. So those are two really great pieces of advice, and I appreciate those. Tell us one more time all the places we can find you, connect with you, and don't forget of the big donate button.
Yeah. Don't
You
forget the
should
big
go
donate button.
there.
That's right. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We're on LinkedIn. Um, I have a great marketing communications director who, by the end of the year, we will be on TikTok. We do
Nice.
some reels already, and
Nice.
so you get to see more of us that way. We also have videos on YouTube,
Okay.
so come check out the videos.
Awesome. Awesome. And so they can connect with you there. Again, donate if you're looking to get involved, if you have someone who wants to participate, if you have a nonprofit that wants to participate, all of that through the website,
All-
through you.
Through the
Yeah.
website, through me, all of my information is on the website as well as anybody else. And if you want to do a tour,
Oh,
reach
yeah,
out to me.
definitely.
Kate and I, my development director, and I do tours all summer long. That's how we get down to camp, and we love to show off what we're doing.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Kurt. This has been amazing. We've gotten some really great information and just education for business owners and anybody out there. So I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you guys for joining Level Up with Lydia. I am your host, Lydia, and you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook. And you can also find us on Spotify, Apple, and all the big platforms, as well as YouTube. So please follow us, subscribe, and share. And if you have any other topics you want to talk about, or you have people that you want to nominate to be on the show, please DM us. We'd love to have them here. Again, Level Up with Lydia.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Level up, level up.